Welcome to Edison Open House Future Transport 2021. In this session, we're going to focus on the work of Quartix, which is a company specializing in vehicle tracking systems. With me is their CEO, Andy Walters. Andy, hello.
Hello, Vivian.
What do vehicle tracking systems have to do with the future of transport?
Okay, so we've been around now for 20 years, and over that time, we've been helping our customers improve the efficiency of their operations. So generally, although we're not particularly involved in logistics businesses, courier businesses, our customers operate in what we call site-based services. They're sending people to work each day directly from their homes, and our systems help them improve the overall efficiency of their workforce.
So you're talking about fleet customers, I'm guessing, the gas man, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so essentially our customers are operators of small fleets of commercial vehicles. So as you say, it's maintenance men, plumbers, electricians, air conditioning maintenance, landscape maintenance, that sort of thing. A typical fleet size for us is quite small, 9 or 10 vehicles, something of that size.
And how do you keep up to date? Because this is an area that's moving very, very quickly. How do you keep up to date with the telematics side?
It's evolved. Most of our development and investment goes into software, as you would imagine. Basically, the information that's produced from the vehicle, the telematics side, because our customers are mainly interested in the operational efficiency of their people, the data that we're gathering from the vehicle hasn't changed enormously over the years, but what has changed is the ways in which that data can be used to help them improve efficiency. By, for example, helping them improve the way they drive, so reducing carbon emissions in that way. So broad range of things that we can bring to their operations to help reduce their costs.
And do you see this as being normal for the future? Because this was an unusual thing even 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. When we started the business 20 years ago, it was not exactly unheard of, but it was very much the exception. And what's happened over the years, particularly in the UK, it's become the norm. It's expected that if you're operating a fleet of 10 vehicles, you're going to want to know how efficient it is, how things are happening out there in the field. That's become more and more common in the UK, and now in less mature markets where the technology is perhaps a bit newer or was not accepted as readily, that's growing quite rapidly.
And what's your vision for the future of this sector?
For the future, I think obviously everybody has to be focused to some degree on reducing carbon emissions. That works alongside improving their operational efficiencies as well, of course. I have an electric vehicle. For a private individual operating an electric vehicle, it's relatively straightforward. For a fleet with 100 people or even 10 people out there on the road, finding places in which they can charge the vehicle or how they can charge the vehicle overnight. So there are a whole host of challenges, I think, that our customers face that we want to work with them with over the coming years.
So that's very interesting, a kind of co-production with the fleet owners in order to get to that future in which electric vehicles are actually the norm and not unusual.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things we don't really think about, but operating an electric vehicle yourself, I'm lucky enough to have a charge point at home so I can charge my vehicle overnight. It's going to be much more difficult for employers to figure out how their employees who take the vans home at night can charge their vehicle overnight if they're not a charging point to the house, or they don't have off-road parking or whatever.
Now, it's very difficult because in many cities, actually, you're not allowed to run a cable from your 13 amp plug inside your front door over the pavement to your vehicle.
Exactly, and that's even assuming you could park near to your house,
which we all know is impossible.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and the other thing is obviously our customers, have to work out how, what sort of staff attrition they have, what turnover. Do they have some people on temporary contracts and all kinds of things. So it's not straightforward by any means, and they certainly won't be keen on a worker taking a couple of hours out in the middle of the day whilst the vehicle's at the charge point.
This is a really important part of the infrastructure which we really don't give much attention to, but which is absolutely vital, because of course you're right. You know, the charging time, you can't have a vehicle off the road.
No, exactly right. And also, I suppose for me and for many private individuals, it's kind of it's something that's interesting and you can take care of if the charger drops out or whatever. For a plumber, he's not going to be too thrilled if there's an initialization error charging his vehicle, for example.
So how does your business solve the problems with the future of transport in a way that will return a margin for investors?
Well, for our customers, the main point is obviously getting more done in the day. From their perspective, it is all about the man rather than the van. And typically what we're trying to do for our customers is to make sure they can get maximum capacity utilization, another 15 or 20% from their staff in terms of the working day by operating and organizing things very efficiently. In terms of getting a return for our investors, the key is obviously to offer a service to those clients that they're going to stick with for 10 to 12 years. Typically, that's our goal, that our customers, I mean, our very first customer from 2001 is with us today still. And that absolutely has to be our goal. We organize our business as a software subscription service, so those customers pay us a regular subscription amount every quarter. And clearly the goal is to give them customer satisfaction to the extent that we can derive profitable growth from that. We're growing our business by expanding in new markets, in filling out the channels that we have within our existing markets, and hope to add between 400 and 500 new clients every month.
And is that solely in the UK or is it globally?
So we started the business in the UK, and as of 2010, 2011, we started to develop the business in France as well. 2015, we started marketing the service in the States, and in the last couple of years, we've added Spain, Germany, and Italy as well. So we're present in all of those markets and continue to recruit sales staff in those markets, as well as continuing to invest in marketing as well.
And going back to our point about charging, actually the fact that you have a subscription service means that you can be constantly updating the sites of charging stations, and whether they're on or off, or what facilities they have. That must be really important to people, when they're considering their switch to electric.
Yeah, so sort of a focus of ours in our development is that we have a very good application programming interface. So our customers can derive data from our systems. We link also to plenty of other APIs that other companies might have as well. So that opens our service up to linking with a wide range of other software services. That's basically our development focus. And yeah, over time, hopefully that will incorporate charge point networks and so on.
How has your business been evolving over the past few years? Because, for example, you used to be in young driver insurance, but I don't think you're in that market any longer.
No, that's absolutely right. So we got into that market in 2010. It was in the middle of the credit crunch. Effectively, our fleet customers at that time were suffering quite badly because of the construction sector difficulties and so on. We thought it was a useful diversification for us, and it grew very rapidly. But by about 2016, we reached the conclusion it really didn't have the same characteristics as the fleet business. So in the fleet business, we expect our customers to be with us for 8 to 10, maybe 12 years or more. Whereas in a young driver insurance, the typical policy is 12 to 14 months, and that's it. They may switch insurers. So since 2016, we've been phasing that out from a peak of revenue at about 7.5 million in that business down to where it is today. And in a sense, that's masked the growth in our fleet business over that time, because if you look at the overall revenue of the business during that time, it's been relatively flat. But now we're getting to the point where insurance is less than 10% of our business. So hopefully, investors in future will start to see what the fleet business is doing directly.
Are there any particular milestones coming up for you that investors should look out for?
I think what we have done is we've said that this year we're going to invest more. In the second half of this year, we're going to add an additional £1 million to our marketing spend in the second half. And we're currently going through recruiting people in each of our new territories. So what we've said is come the early part of next year, we'll be able to report back on how successful we've been with that additional investment in terms of increasing the rate at which we win new customers.
I guess during the pandemic that you maintained business because, after all, most of the fleets that you're involved with and you support are for essential workers like plumbers and electricians. But was there any wider impact of COVID on your business?
The impact for us was very significant at about this time last year. So April and May last year, the first lockdown in the UK was particularly harsh. We saw clear division between the sectors that we operate in. So landscape maintenance, anything that was outdoor obviously just carried on regardless. But for a lot of our customers who were going into people's homes to do non-essential plumbing work or things of that sort, that did slow down. I mean, overall, we still, our fleet business still grew by 6% during the course of the year, and we increased our subscription base by, I think, about 16% in terms of vehicles. That was slightly slower than our normal growth, but by the end of the year, things were getting back to normal.
You're talking about that API interface that you have. Does that mean that you can integrate with the kind of map systems that most tradesmen would use?
We link, obviously we use, we link predominantly for our mapping and other with Google Maps. We use a range of other services. Particularly at the moment, customers want links to dashboard cameras. So more and more they're installing cameras on their dashboards, fleet management tools, and so on. So bit by bit, we're adding in each of these services.
Now we're asking everybody that we're talking to how they see the future of transport. I mean, your company is actually integral to the support infrastructure that's so vital in people both maintaining electric fleets and, in fact, in switching to electric for their fleets. But how do you personally see the future of transport?
Well, again, I mean, I guess I just come back to the same point that all of us, the primary focus has to be reducing carbon emissions. And there are a number of ways, obviously, in which people like myself can do that. It's increased use. I think if there's one positive thing that's come out of the pandemic, and then obviously the reduction of unnecessary travel has been one of them. There's so much more done by Zoom or Teams or whatever, taking unnecessary meetings out of the way. Perhaps during the pandemic, we haven't been using public transport as much, but overall, in terms of the future of transport, I hope that we keep the good habits that we've developed during the pandemic and go back to using public transport a lot as well, and hopefully keep more vehicles off the road unless it's absolutely essential. For our customers, clearly, plumbers, electricians have to go. They can't fix a leak by Zoom. So, we have to work with them to help them reduce their emissions.
Thank you. It's a really interesting area, and perhaps one that people haven't given that much consideration to, but a really important one. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you very much, Vivian.